এ বিশ্বাস করলেও দুঃখ নাই।
কৃষ্ণ দাস এ বিশ্বাস করলে তো আর দুঃখ নাই।
কৃষ্ণ বলবে যাবে, ফুলাকা হবে, জুড়বে আংকি বলি তাই।
কৃষ্ণ
কৃষ্ণ
বলবে
বলবে
যাবে,
যাবে,
পুলকে হবে, ধরবে আংকে বলে তাই।
রাধা কৃষ্ণ বল বল বলো রে সবাই, রাধা
রাধা কৃষ্ণ
কৃষ্ণ
বল বল
বল
বল রে
বলো রে
সবাই।
সবাই, রাধা কৃষ্ণ বল, সঙ্গে চলো, এই মন্ত্র বিকাচাই।
রাধা কৃষ্ণ বলো, সঙ্গে চলো, এই মন্ত্র ভিক্ষা করছাতে চাই।
রাধা কৃষ্ণ বল, সঙ্গে চলো, এই মাত্র বিকাচাই।
রাধা কৃষ্ণ বলো, সঙ্গে চলো, এই মন্ত্র ভিক্ষা চাই।
জয় সকলা বিপদ ভক্তি বিনোদ, বলে যখন ও নাম গায়।
এই সকল বিপদ ভক্তি বিনোদ বলে যখন ও নাম গাই।
রাধা কৃষ্ণ বল 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 রে সবাই,
রাধা কৃষ্ণ বল 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 রে সবাই।
রাধা কৃষ্ণ বল 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 রে সবাই।
রাধা কৃষ্ণ বল 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 রে সবাই।
শ্রী ভক্তিবিনোদ ঠাকুর কি
জয়।
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajacharya Ashottatara Shishimad, His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki.
জয়।
Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paribrajacharya Ashottatara Shishimad, His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Maharaj ki. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Prem Skoho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan ki.
Jai.
Shri Vrindavan Dham ki.
Jai.
Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki.
Jai.
Ganga Maya ki.
Jai.
Jamuna Maya ki.
Jai.
Bhakti Devi ki.
Jai.
Tulsi Devi ki.
Jai.
Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki.
জয়।
Jai.
Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki.
জয়।
Jai.
Tiro Baba of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki.
জয়।
Nitai Gora Premanande.
হরি হরি বল।
All glories to the assembled devotees.
হরে কৃষ্ণ।
Krishna.
Glories to the assembled devotees.
হরে কৃষ্ণ।
All glories to the assembled devotees.
হরে কৃষ্ণ।
All glories, all glories, all glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga.
হরে
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Tirtha Swamini Tinamane Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Ashatatmane Shri Guru Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Tinamane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Tinamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shinyavari Paschatya Deshatarine. Chant, chant Radha Krishna, everyone chant. When Lord Caitanya and Lord Nityananda came dancing through Madhya, they gave these teachings. Chant, chant Radha Krishna, everyone chant. You are caught in a whirlpool of senseless action and are sinking lower and lower. Chant, chant Radha Krishna, everyone chant. If you just understand that the spirit soul is the eternal servant of Krishna, you will never have any more sorrows. Chant Hare Krishna, and your eyes will fill with tears, and your body will feel transcendental shivering. Chant, chant Radha Krishna, everyone chant. Simply chant Radha Krishna and join with us. Those are the only alms we beg. Just chant, chant Radha Krishna, everyone chant. All dangers will be gone. when the name is chanted, says Thakur Bhaktivinod. Chant, chant, Radha Krishna. Everyone chant. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Vedanta Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Vedanta Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda.
Vedanta Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you for joining this morning. We're reading from the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita. Let us start off by offering our respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who has translated in this Sri Caitanya Charitamrita and given us the translation and Bhaktivedanta purport so that we can relish and understand the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. We also offer our respectful obeisances unto Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur on his disappearance day. He has revived the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and was the first to send a book over to the West, all the teachings and precepts of Sri Chaitanya, and he sent that over in 1896, the same year that Srila Prabhupada was born. Today we observe his disappearance day. It's a fast until noon. There's a program at the temple that starts at 10:30. We invite everybody to join if possible. Where we'll chant some bhajans. He's written numerous devotional songs, and he's written many books, and he preached very strongly about the philosophy and tattva of Lord Chaitanya. One day he was looking out in the holy land of Mayapur, and he was envisioning that one day all of the people from different races and regions of the world, different countries, would all come together in Mayapur under the same banner of Lord Chaitanya and perform Sankirtan in the streets, chanting Jaya Sachinandana Gaura Hari. By the mercy of his great-grand disciple, Srila Prabhupada, and by the mercy of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur laying out that vision, we're able today to see his prophecy manifest. So we'll speak more about Bhaktivinoda Thakur later, but today is later on today at the program at the temple. But today is also a festival of Gundicha Marjana, the cleaning of the Gundicha temple in Jagannath Puri. And the Jagannath Puri Rath Yatra takes place tomorrow and will go on for 9 days. So I thought we would journey today to Jagannath Puri in the Caitanya Charitamrita, in the chapter that speaks about the cleaning of the Gundicha temple. This is the Madhya Lila, chapter 12. So we'll detour a little bit today from the discussions with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we'll return to that next week. But now we are in we're in text 72 of the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, chapter number 12. Now, there's only 2 purports in this section that speaks about the Gundicha Marjana. So there'll be a lot of reading. And the one purport that we'll get to at the end is really good. It's one of the best purports that has so much wonderful preaching and understanding that Srila Prabhupada has put into it. So when we get there, it's quite long. We'll ask for others to, if you're able to still be with us on and read, others to read as well. Okay. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Nishinga Prabhu?
Yes.
Do text number 72.
প্রথমেই কাশীমিত্রে প্রভু বলাইল পরিছা মাত্র সার্বভৌমে বোলায়া আনিল.
Translation. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first of all called for Kashi Mishra, then for the superintendent of the temple, then for Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
তিনজন পাশে প্রভু হাসিয়া কহিল গুন্ডিচা মন্দির মার্জন সেবা মাগি নিল.
When these three people came before the Lord, he begged them for permission to wash the temple known as Gundicha. Purport. The Gundicha temple is situated 2 miles northeast of the Jagannath temple. At the time of Rath Yatra festival, Lord Jagannath goes to the Gundicha temple from his original temple and stays there for 1 week. After 1 week, he returns to his original temple. It is understood by hearsay that the wife of Indrajumna, the king who established the Jagannath temple, was known as Gundicha. There are also mention of the names of the Gundicha temple in authoritative scripture. The area of the Gundicha temple is estimated to be 288 cubits by 215 cubits. A cubit is about 1.5 feet. The main temple inside is about 36 cubits and by 30 cubits. And the Kirtan hall is about 32 cubits by 30 cubits. So this the Gundicha temple is a place where Lord Jagannath goes once a year, and he remains there for 7 days. The Rath Yatra takes place from the Jagannath Puri temple, and in 1 day it comes down to the Gundicha temple. It's about a 2-mile long Rath Yatra procession. And then Lord Jagannath stays in the Gundicha temple and is worshipped there for 7 days. And then on the 9th day, Lord Jagannath then returns back to Jagannath Puri. This Gundicha temple is known for its gardens, its kind of simplicity of worship, and is also understood to be the replica of Sri Vrindavan Dham. When the residents of Vrindavan saw Lord Krishna who was coming from Dwarka, and they saw him at Kurukshetra at the time of the eclipse, and they had the deep desire to bring him back to Vrindavan. This is the inner mood of Rath Yatra, of bringing Krishna from Dwarka to Vrindavan. They wanted to pull his chariot and have him return, because he looked like he was a king, and he had all these queens, and they were all dressed in royalty. And they wanted to remember that and experience the joy of the association of the cowherd boy whose body was filled with the dust kicked up from the hoof prints of the cows, wearing the flute and the turban on his head with the peacock feather, barefoot Krishna, walking through the forest of Vraj. So this Gundicha temple is the return of Lord Krishna to that land of Vrindavan, as represented by the Gundicha temple. So that is the pastime. When we celebrate this in the West, we don't have the luxury of the resources of having all of this, but this is the actual pastime of the Jagannath Rath Yatra. We have the one-day festival, and so much preaching goes on to bring people to Krishna consciousness. But for devotees, we should understand this inner mood, the desire of Lord Krishna and his devotees to go back and return to Vrindavan, even though he can only do so, through an internal mood, and that which is relished through the mood of Vipralamba Seva in separation. But through this pastime of the Gundicha temple, the Lord is actually brought here. Lord Jagannath actually resides for 7 days. And give some measurements as well. So we can just multiply these numbers by 1.5, and we'll understand, the size of the actual temple. So the main temple is roughly, 40, maybe 45 feet by 35 feet. Kirtan Hall is roughly the same size as well. So it's a smaller temple than Jagannath Puri. Any questions or comments before we move on? Okay, Nrsinga Prabhu.
পরীক্ষা কহে আমি সব সেবক তোমার, যে তোমার ইচ্ছা সেই কর্তব্য আমার।
Upon hearing the Lord's request for permission to wash the Gundicha temple, the Paricha, or the superintendent of the temple, said, "My dear sir, we are all your servants. Whatever you desire is our duty to perform." Text 75.
বিশেষে রাজার আজ্ঞা হয়েছে আমার, প্রভুর আজ্ঞা নেই সেই শীঘ্র করিবার।
The king gave a special order for me to do without delay whatever your lordship's orders.
তোমার যোগ্য সেবা নহে মন্দির মার্জন, এই এক লীলা করো যে তোমার মন।
My dear Lord, washing the temple is not service befitting you. Nonetheless, if you wish to do so, it is to be accepted as one of your pastimes.
কিন্তু ঘট সংমার্জনী বহুত চাইয়ে, আজ্ঞা দেহ আজি সব ইহা আনি আনি দিয়ে।
To wash the temple, you need many water pots and brooms. Therefore, order me. I can immediately bring all these things to you.
নতুন 100 ঘট শত শত সংমার্জনী, পরিছা আনিয়া দিল প্রভুর ইচ্ছা জানি।
As soon as the superintendent understood the desire of the Lord, he immediately delivered 100 new water pots and hundreds of brooms for sweeping the temple.
আর দিনে প্রভাতে লয়া নিজগণ শ্রীহস্তে সবার অঙ্গে লিপিয়া চন্দন।
The next day, early in the morning, the Lord took his personal associates with him, and with his own hand smeared sandalwood pulp upon their bodies.
শ্রীহস্তে দিল সবারে এক এক মার্জনী, সবগণ লয়া প্রভু চলিলা আপনি।
He then gave each devotee a broom with his own hand, and taking all of them personally with him, the Lord went to Gundicha.
গুন্ডিচা মন্দিরে গেলা করিতে মার্জন, প্রথমে মার্জনী লয়া করিল শোধন।
In this way, the Lord and his associate went to cleanse the Gundicha temple. At first, they cleansed the temple with the brooms.
ভিতর মন্দির উপর সকল মাজিল, সিংহাসন মাজি পুনঃ স্থাপন করিল।
The Lord cleansed everything inside the temple very nicely, including the ceiling. He then took up the sitting place, Shimhasan, cleansed it, and again put it in its original place.
ছোট বড় মন্দির কইল মার্জন শোধন, পাছে তৈছে শোধিল শ্রী জগমোহন।
Thus the Lord and his companions cleansed and swept all temple's buildings, big and small, and finally cleansed the area between the temple and the kirtan hall. I'm sorry.
চারিদিকে শতভক্ত সংমার্জনী করে, আপনি শোধেন প্রভু শিখান সবারে।
Indeed, hundreds of devotees were engaged in cleansing all around the temple, and Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was personally carrying out the operation just to instruct others.
প্রেমোল্লাসে শোধন, লয়েন কৃষ্ণ নাম, ভক্তগণ কৃষ্ণ কহে করে নিজ কাম।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed and cleansed the temple in great jubilation, chanting of the holy names of the Lord at all times. Similarly, all the devotees were also chanting and at the same time performing their respective duties. This is very nice to hear that when they were performing this cleaning service, they were doing it, Lord Chaitanya, he was doing it with great joy. And he and all the assembled devotees, they were performing kirtan at the same time. You know, cleaning is one of the services that you can be actively, engaged in performing sankirtan while you're doing those services, while you're doing that particular service. Of course, we should always be chanting. Sometimes we can't be chanting always externally while we're doing certain services. But cleaning is one of those services you can do where you're chanting kirtan while performing.
ধূলি ধূসর তনু দেখিতে শোভন, কাহা কাহা অশ্রু জলে করে সংমার্জন।
The entire beautiful body of the Lord was covered with dust and dirt. In this way, it became transcendently beautiful. At times, when cleansing the temple, the Lord shed tears, and in some places, he even cleansed with those tears.
ভোগমন্দির শোধন করি শোধিল প্রাঙ্গণ, সকল আবাস ক্রমে করিল শোধন।
After this, the place where the deity's food was kept, the Bhoga Mandir, was cleansed. Then the yard was cleansed, and then all the residential quarters, one after the other.
তৃণ ধূলি ঝিঙ্কুর সব একত্র করিয়া, বহির্বাসে লয়া ফেলায় বাহির করিয়া।
After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu collected all the straw, dust, and grains of sand in one place, he gathered it all with his cloth and threw it outside.
এই মতো ভক্তগণ করি নিজ বাসে, তৃণ ধূলি বাহিরে ফেলায় পরম হরিষে।
Following the example of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees in great jubilation began to gather straws and dust in their own cloths and throw them outside the temple.
প্রভু কহে, কে কত করিয়াছ সংমার্জন, তৃণ ধূলি দেখিলেই জানিব পরিশ্রম।
The Lord then told the devotees, I can tell how much you have labored and how well you have cleansed the temple simply by seeing all the straw and dust you have collected outside.
সবার ঝাঁটানো বোঝা একাত্র করিল, সবা হইতে প্রভুর বোঝা অধিক হইল।
Even though all the devotees collected dirt in one pile, the dirt collected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was much greater.
এই মতো অভ্যন্তর করিল মার্জন, পুনঃ সবাকারে দিল করিয়া বন্টন।
After the inside temple was cleansed, the Lord again allotted areas for the devotees to cleanse. I'm sorry, I keep passing it.
সূক্ষ্ম ধূলি তৃণ কাঁকর সব করহ দূর, ভালো মতে শোধন করহ প্রভুর অন্তরপুর।
The Lord then ordered everyone to cleanse the inside of the temple very perfectly by taking finer dust, straw, and grains of sand and throwing them outside.
সব বৈষ্ণব লয়া যবে দুইবার শোধিল, দেখি মহাপ্রভুর মনে সন্তোষ হইল।
After Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the Vaishnavas cleansed the temple for the second time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to see the cleansing work.
আর শতজন শত ঘটে জল ভরি, প্রথমে লয়া আছে কাল অপেক্ষা করি।
While the temple was being swept, about 100 men stood ready with filled water pots, and they simply waited the Lord's order to throw the water from them.
জল আনো বলি যবে মহাপ্রভু কহিল, তবে শতঘট আনি প্রভু আগে দিল।
As soon as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called for water, all the men immediately brought the 100 water pots, which were completely filled, and delivered them before the Lord.
প্রথমে করিল প্রভু মন্দির প্রক্ষালন, ঊর্ধ্বে অধ ভিত্তি গৃহ মধ্য সিংহাসন।
In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu first washed the main temple, and then thoroughly washed the ceilings, the walls, the floor, and the sitting place, Shimasan, and everything else within the room.
খাপরা ভরিয়া জল ঊর্ধ্বে চালাইল, সেই জলে ঊর্ধ্বে শোধি ভিত্তি প্রক্ষালিল।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself and his devotees began to throw water onto the ceiling. When this water fell, it washed the walls and the floor. So we can get a very vivid description of what's happening here. It's very nicely described. How they first went in with brooms and swept everything, and then Mahaprabhu asked them to go back in and then sweep again the finer pieces of dust and straw that may have been remaining there. So they went back twice, and now they're cleansing the temple with water, and they're not missing any spots. They're hitting the ceiling, the walls, the corners, everything. Let us continue.
শ্রীহস্তে করেন সিংহাসনের মার্জন, প্রভু আগে জল আনি দেয় ভক্তগণ।
And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to wash the sitting place of Lord Jagannath with his own hands. And all the devotees began to bring water to the Lord.
ভক্তগণ করে গৃহমধ্য প্রক্ষালন, নিজ নিজ হস্ত করে মন্দির মার্জন।
All the devotees within the temple began to wash. Each one had a broom in his hand. And in this way, they cleansed the temple of the Lord.
কেহ জল আনি দেয় মহাপ্রভুর করে, কেহ জল দেয় তাঁর চরণ উপরে।
Some brought water to pour into the hands of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and someone poured water on his lotus feet.
কেহ লুকায়া করে সেই জল পান, কেহ মাগি লয়, কেহ অন্যে করে দান।
The water that fell from the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was drunk by someone who hid himself. Someone else begged for that water, and another person was giving that water in charity.
ঘর ধুই প্রণালিকায় কল জল ছাড়ি দিল, সেই জলে প্রাঙ্গণ সব ভরিয়া রহিল।
After the water was washed, the water was let out through an outlet, and it flowed and filled the yard outside.
নিজ বস্ত্রে কইল প্রভু গৃহ সংমার্জন, মহাপ্রভু নিজ বস্ত্রে মাজিল সিংহাসন।
The Lord mopped the rooms with his own cloths, and he polished the throne with them also.
শতঘট জলে হইল মন্দির মার্জন, মন্দির শোধিয়া কইল যেন নিজ মন।
In this way, all the rooms were cleansed with 100 water pots. After the rooms had been cleansed, the minds of the devotees were as cleansed as the rooms. This is the idea of cleaning. I've always been told this, that when you clean, you're actually cleaning, your heart and your mind from the material contaminations of this world. And this practically works when devotees apply this. You may have had this experience as well, is that you feel transcendentally cleaner when you clean the Lord's paraphernalia, which includes the temple room. This is why it gives the Lord and the spiritual master so much pleasure when they see their disciples engaged in this particular service. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his Guru Astakam says, Shri Vigrahadan Nana Nityanana Shringaratan Mandira Marjanado. That this idea of the spiritual master is engaged in cleansing, he's engaged in the worship, but also the Mandira Marjanado, which is to can be considered part of the worship. Cleanliness, Srila Prabhupada would often quote, cleanliness is next to godliness. And this cleaning is an essential Brahminical quality that the Lord, its paraphernalia, its living space, should all be clean. And as we see from the participation of all the devotees in this pastime, they were doing it not begrudgingly, but with great joy. Because there's no difference between the Lord's paraphernalia and the Lord himself. Once Srila Prabhupada, he says, you keep the altar very, very clean because you say this is Krishna's, but the rest of the property you don't clean because you can't see that this is also Krishna's. There's sometimes enthusiasm to do that, keep the altar very clean, or to keep maybe the temple clean, but the other parts maybe not so much. Seeing incorrectly, we see a disconnection from the Lord, or maybe this isn't as auspicious, as sacred, but this is not the truth. And when we clean, when we perform these services, we feel transcendentally joyful as well as transcendentally cleaner. What that means is anarthas, doubts, obstacles that rest within us, they become uprooted and removed. This can be seen by practical application. Okay, we can continue.
নির্মল শীতল স্নিগ্ধ করিল মন্দিরে আপন হৃদয় যেন ধরিল বাইরে
When the temple was cleansed, it was purified, cool, and pleasing, just as if the Lord's own pure mind had appeared.
শত শত জন জল ভরে সরোবরে ঘাটে স্থান নাহি কেহ কূপে জল ভরে
Since hundreds of men were engaged in bringing water from the lake, there was no place to stand on the banks. Consequently, someone began to draw water from a well.
পূর্ণ কুম্ভ লয়া আইসে শত ভক্তগণ শূন্য ঘট লয়া যায় আর শতজন
Hundreds of devotees brought water in the pots, and hundreds took empty pots away to fill them up again. They had an assembly line.
নিত্যানন্দ অদ্বৈত স্বরূপ ভারতী পুরী ইহা বিনু আর সবে জল আনি ভরি
With the exception of Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita Acharya, Swarup Damodar, Brahmananda Bharti, and Parmananda Puri, everyone was engaging in filling the water pots and bringing them there.
ঘটে 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 ঠেকি কত ঘট ভাঙি গেল শত শত ঘট লোক তাহা লয়া আনিল
Many of the water pots were broken when people collided with one another, and hundreds of men had to bring new water pots to fill.
জল ভরে ঘর ধোয়ে করে হরিধ্বনি কৃষ্ণ হরি ধ্বনি বিনা আর নাহি শুনি
Some people were filling the pots and others were washing the rooms, but everyone was engaged in chanting of the holy names of Krishna and Hari.
কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ কহি করে ঘটের প্রার্থন কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ কহি করে ঘট সমর্পণ
One person begged for a water pot by chanting the holy names, Krishna, Krishna, and another delivered a water pot while chanting, Krishna, Krishna.
যেই যেই কহে সেই সেই কহে কৃষ্ণ নামে কৃষ্ণ নাম হইল সংকেত সব কামে
Whenever anyone had to speak, he did so by uttering the holy name of Krishna. Consequently, the holy name of Krishna became an indication for everyone who wanted something. It's interesting. They communicated by using the word Krishna. They could understand each other's intention by the way they spoke or said the word Krishna, but Krishna filled their mouths. There wasn't any type of, prajapa or, side talks going on. They were immersed in the chanting of the Lord's holy names.
প্রেমাবেশে বহু কহে কৃষ্ণ কৃষ্ণ নাম একালে প্রেমাবেশে করে শতজনের কাম
As Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was vibrating the holy name of Krishna in ecstatic love, he himself was performing the work of hundreds of men.
শতহস্তে করেন যেন খালন মার্জন প্রতিজন পাশে যাই করেন শিক্ষণ
It appeared as though Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were cleansing and washing with 100 hands. He approached every devotee just to teach him how to work.
ভালো কর্ম দেখি তারে করে প্রশংসন মনে না মিলিলে করে পবিত্র ভৎসন
When he saw someone doing nicely, the Lord praised him. But if he saw that someone was not working to his satisfaction, he immediately chastised that person, not bearing him any grudge.
তুমি ভালো করিয়াছ, শিখাও অন্যরে, এই মতো ভালো কর্ম সেহ যেন করে।
This is kind of funny. The Lord would say, "You have done well. Please teach this to others so that they may act in the same way."
এক এক
Oh, sorry.
কথা শুনিয়া সবে সংকুচিত হইয়া ভালো মতো কর্ম করে সব মন দিয়া।
As soon as they heard Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu say this, everyone became ashamed. Thus the devotees began to work with great attention. If you missed what kind of happened, so he was encouraging the devotees by saying, "Well done, you did a great job, keep going." But he'd also say that to those that were maybe slacking a little bit in a group. You always have, some people that are maybe not working as hard. They're slackers. They're always taking a break. They're sitting down, talking, or they're just not working so hard. So to encourage them, he said, "Oh, you're doing so well. Please show others how you're doing, how to do it as well as you." And indirectly was kind of saying it in jest, but that was able to get their attention, so that they would understand in their hearts that they were working to their full potential in their service, and that inspired them to work with much greater attention.
তবে প্রক্ষালন কইল শ্রী জগমোহন, ভোগমন্দির আদি তবে কইল প্রক্ষালন।
They washed the Jagan Mohan area, and then the place where the food was kept. All other places were also washed. This Jagan Mohan area, as I understand it, is kind of the area between the entrance and the temple, or like kind of the main temple hall. I don't know if anybody else has any understanding of what the Jagan Mohan area is. Does that sound correct? Okay, 120.
নাটশালা ধুইলে চত্বর প্রাঙ্গণ, পাকশালা আদি করিল প্রক্ষালন।
In this way, the meeting place was washed, the entire yard, the raised sitting places, the kitchen, and every other room.
মন্দিরের চতুর্দিক প্রক্ষালন কইল, সব অন্তরপুর ভালো মতে ধোয়াইল।
Thus, all places around the temple were thoroughly washed within and without.
হেনকালে গৌড়িয়া এক সুবুদ্ধি সরল, প্রভুর চরণ যুগে দিল ঘট জল।
After everything was thoroughly washed, a Vaishnav from Bengal, who is very intelligent and simple, came and poured water on the lotus feet of the Lord.
সেই জল লয়ে আপনে পান কইল, তাহা দেখি প্রভুর মনে দুঃখ রোষ হইল।
The Gaudiya Vaishnava then took the water and drank it himself, seeing that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt a little unhappy and was also outwardly angry.
যদ্যপি গোসাই তারে হয়েছে সন্তোষ, ধর্ম সংস্থাপন লাগি বাইরে মহারোষ।
Although the Lord was certainly satisfied with him, he became angry externally in order to establish the etiquette of religious principles.
শিক্ষা লাগি স্বরূপে ডাকি কহিল তাহারে, এই দেখো তোমার গৌড়িয়ার ব্যবহারে।
The Lord then called for Swarup Damodar and told him, "Just see the behavior of your Bengali Vaishnava."
ঈশ্বর মন্দিরে মোর পদ ধোয়াইল, সেই জল আপনি লয়া পান করিল।
This person from Bengal has washed my feet within the temple of the personality of Godhead. Not only that, but he has drunk the water himself.
এই অপরাধে মোর কাহা হবে গতি, তোমার গৌড়িয়া করে এতেক ফৈজতি।
I now do not know what my destination is because of this offense. Indeed, your Bengali Vaishnava has greatly implicated me. Purport. This wasn't the purport I was talking about. That's really long. That's coming up in a few verses, but this is a very important purport as well. It is significant that Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu told Swarup Damodar Goswami that the Bengali Vaishnava was your Gaudiya Vaishnava. This means that all Gaudiya Vaishnavas who are followers of the Chaitanya cult are subordinate to Swarup Damodar Goswami. The Parampara system is very strictly observed by Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's personal secretary was Swarup Damodar Goswami. The next group of devotees was the six Goswamis, then Kaviraj Goswami. It is necessary to observe the Parampara system of the Chaitanya cult. There are many offenses one can commit while serving the Lord, and these are described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the Hari Bhakti Vilas, and other books. According to the rules and regulations, no one should accept obeisances in the temple of the Lord before the deity. Nor is it proper for a devotee to offer obeisances and touch the feet of the spiritual master before the deity. This is considered an offense. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself was personally the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, it was not actually an offense to wash his lotus feet in the temple. However, because he was playing the part of an acharya, the Lord considered himself an ordinary human being. He also wanted to give the instruction to ordinary human beings. The point is that even though one plays the part of the spiritual master, he should not accept obeisances or permit a disciple to wash his feet before the deity. This is a matter of etiquette. Does anybody have any comments or questions on this? You know, there are occasions, for instance, Srila Prabhupada, due to his exalted position, we perform Guru Puja. You know, we do that in front of the deities, but as a general practice, we don't offer our obeisances to devotees in front of the deities. This is out of respect for the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the position, the sole position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Oftentimes, this can be confusing because we offer obeisances to the devotees, and we're instructed to do so when we see a devotee. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhuvyeva patitanam pavanevyo vaishnavevyo namo namaha. I was always trained that we should not bow down and offer this prayer while the deity doors are open. Instead, we should offer obeisances to the deities when the deity doors are open. You know, we should offer, you know, outside the temple, we should bow down to each other, but in the temple, we should always be bowing down to the Lord. Anyway, to give this important instruction, Lord Chaitanya, you know, had spoke this way to Swarup Damodar, as well as to the Bengali Vaishnava, who had poured and basically bathed the Lord's lotus feet. And he's saying, this is the temple of the Lord. You know, you shouldn't do this in there. Understanding the position, understanding the roles. We have to always remember that we should never compromise the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as impersonalists often do. The Jiva, as well as the Supreme Lord, they're considered to be one, and we should never fall into that misunderstanding and just mix everything up. Before we move on, any comments or questions? Okay, let's continue.
তবে স্বরূপ গোসাই তার ঘাড়ে হাত দিয়া ঠেকা মারি পুরীর বাহিরে রাখলেন লয়া।
At this point, Swarup Damodar Goswami caught the Gaudiya Vaishnava by the neck and, giving him a little push, ejected him from the Gundajika Puri temple and made him stay outside.
পুনঃ আসি প্রভু পায় করিল বিনয়, অজ্ঞ অপরাধ ক্ষমা করিতে জুজায়।
After Swarup Damodar Goswami returned within the temple, he requested Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu to excuse that innocent person.
তবে মহাপ্রভুর মনে সন্তোষ হইলা, সারি করি দুই পাশে সবারে বসাইলা।
After this incident, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very satisfied. He then asked all the devotees to sit down in two lines on both sides.
আপনি বসিয়া মাঝে আপনার হাতে তৃণ কাঁকর কুটা লাগিলা কুড়াইতে।
The Lord then personally sat down in the middle and picked up all kinds of straw, grains, and sand and dirty things.
কে কত কুড়ায় সব একত্র করিব, যার অল্প তার ঠাঁই পিঠা পানা লইব।
While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was picking up the straw and grains of sand, he said, I shall gather everyone's collection, and I shall ask whoever has collected less than all the others to pay a fine of sweet cakes and sweet rice. So he was measuring how much everybody was collecting, and basically those that came in last place, they had to pay a fine by providing sweet cakes and sweet rice to the others. It made it a transcendental competition.
এই মতো পুরী সব করিল শোধন, শীতল নির্মল কইল যেন নিজ মন।
In this way, all the quarters of the Gundicha temple were completely cleansed and cleared. The quarters were cool and spotless, like cleaned and pacified, like one's cleansed and pacified mind. It's true, when you go into a room and it's nicely cleaned, the mind becomes very peaceful, pacified. When you go into a place where clothes are everywhere and things are out of sorts, the mind can't be pacified. You're thinking, oh, why do I even want to be here? Okay, I have to start putting this together, putting that together, lift this up, place that there. This should be moved. We don't need this anymore. The mind automatically becomes agitated. But temple, altar, sacred spaces within our homes, they should be clean, spotless, so that when we go there to worship the Lord, our minds can be pacified. Nowhere else in this world is it like that, but at least in these sacred spaces, we should allow this one place, to be like this.
প্রণালিকা ছাড়ি যদি পানি বহাইল, নতুন নদী যেন সমুদ্রে মিলিল।
When the water from the different rooms was finally let through the halls, it appeared as if new rivers were rushing out to meet waters of the ocean. They used a lot of water to clean the temple.
এই মতো পুরোদ্বার আগে পথ যত, সকল শুধিল তাহা কে বর্ণিবে কত।
Outside the gateway of the temple, all the roads were also cleansed, and no one could tell exactly how this was done. And this is the trend. This is the omnipotency of the Lord. Outside the roads, they also became cleansed. This, simply by the desire of Krishna, all these things were done so nicely. And we're going to read this purport, and I want to ask different devotees, if you're still on and you have the ability to do so, read a couple paragraphs at a time. It's a little bit long. It should take us about 10 minutes to go through. This is what I consider to be one of the just such an instructive purport on this idea of cleansing the heart. Would somebody like to begin?
Okay, I can begin.
Please, Mataji.
In commenting on the cleansing of the Gaudiya temple, sorry, let me get it nice. The Gaudiya temple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as a world leader, was personally giving instruction on how one should receive Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, within one cleansed and pacified. If one want to see Krishna seated in his heart, he must first cleanse the heart as prescribed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Sistastaka, Chetudarpana Marjanam. In this age, everyone's heart is specially and clean, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Hriday Antastohi Abhadrani, to wash away all dirty things accumulated within the heart. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised everyone to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. The first result will be that the heart is cleansed, Chetu Darpana Marjanam. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam 1:17 confirms this. Shrivatam Swakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Ketanam, Hriday Antasto Hiba Badrani Vidonoti Surit Satam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanse the desires for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who relishes his messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted.
Would somebody else like to chant or read?
I can read, bro.
Hare Krishna.
Right. If a devotee at all wants to cleanse his heart, he must chant and hear the glories of the Lord Sri Krishna. Sharanam Swakatha Krishna. This is a simple process. Krishna himself will help cleanse the heart because he is already seated there. Krishna wants to continue living within the heart, and the Lord wants to give directions. But one has to keep his heart as clean as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept the Gundicha temple. The devotee, therefore, has to cleanse his heart just as the Lord cleanses the Gundicha temple. In this way, one can be pacified and enriched in devotional service. If the heart is filled with straw, grains of sand, weeds, or dust, in other words, Anya Vilashita Shunya Purna, one cannot enthrone the Supreme Personality of Godhead there. The heart must be cleansed of all material motives brought about through fruitive work, speculative knowledge, and the mystic yoga system, and so many other forms of so-called meditation. The heart must be cleansed without ulterior motive. As Srila Rupa Goswami says, Anna Bilashita Shunya Jnana Karmadi Anavritam. In other words, there should not be any external motive. One should not attempt material upliftment, understanding the Supreme by speculative knowledge, spiritual activities, severe austerities and penance, and so on. All these activities are against the natural growth of spontaneous love of Godhead. As soon as there are present As soon as these are present within the heart should be understood to be unclean and therefore unfit to serve as Krishna's sitting place. We cannot perceive the Lord's presence in our heart unless our hearts are cleansed. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Somebody else like to read?
Yeah, Prabhu, I can read.
Thank
A
you.
material desire, explain, is a desire to enjoy the material world to its fullest extent. In modern language, this is called economic development. An inordinate desire for economic development is considered to be like straws and grains of sand within the heart. If one is overly engaged in the material activity, the heart will always remain disturbed. As stated by Narottam Das Thakur, Sansara Vishande Daiva Nishi Hiya Jwale Judate Na Kenu Upaye. Judate na keno upaye. In other words, endeavor for material opulence is against the principles of devotional service. Material enjoyment includes activities such as great sacrifice for auspicious activities, charity, austerity, elevation to higher planetary system, and even living happily within the material world. Prabhu, you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, read one more.
Okay. Modernized material benefit are like the dust of material contamination. When this dust is agitated by the whirlwind of fruitive activities, it overcomes the heart. Thus, the mirror of the heart is covered with dust. There are many desires to perform auspicious activity and inauspicious activity, but people do not know how life after life they are keeping their hearts unclean. One who cannot give up the desire of fruitive activities is understood to be covered by the dust of material contamination. Karmis generally think that the interaction of fruitive activities can be counteracted by another karma or fruitive activities. This is certainly a mistaken concept. If one is deluded by such conception, he is cheated by his own activity. Such activities have been compared to an elephant's bathing. The elephants may bathe very thoroughly, but as soon as he comes out of the river, it immediately takes some sand from the land and throws it all over its body. If one suffers due to his past fruitive activities, he cannot counteract his suffering by performing the auspicious activity. The sufferings of the human society cannot be counteracted by material plans. The only way suffering can be mitigated is by the Krishna consciousness. One who takes to Krishna consciousness and engages himself in the devotional service of the heart, beginning with the chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord, the cleansing of the heart begins. When the heart is actually cleansed, one can clearly see the Lord sitting there without any disturbances. In Srimad Bhagavatam 9:468, the Lord confirms that He sits within the heart of the pure devotees. Sadhavo hridayam mayam, sadhavam hridayam tvaham.
Uh,
Thank you.
thank you, Prabhu. Anybody else would like to read?
Can I read, Prabhu?
Please. Mata.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Impersonal speculation, monism merging into the existence of the Supreme, speculative knowledge, mystic yoga, and meditation are all compared to grains of sand. They simply cause irritation to the heart. No one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by such activities, nor do we give the Lord a chance to sit in our hearts peacefully. Rather, the Lord is simply disturbed by them. Sometimes yogis and jnanis in the beginning take to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra as a way to begin their various practices. But when they falsely think that they have attained release from the bondage of material existence, they give up chanting. They do not consider that the ultimate goal is the form of the Lord or the name of the Lord.
Oh,
Such,
sorry.
such unfortunate creatures are never favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for they do not know what devotional service is. Lord Krishna describes them in the Bhagavad Gita in this way. Tan aham dvishataha karunan samsareshu nardhaman shipamya ajishram ashubhan ashurisav eva yonishu. Those who are envious and mischievous, who are the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. Bhagavad Gita 16.19. All right.
Thank you, Mataji. Anybody else would like to read?
I can read, Prabhu. By his practical example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown us that all the grains of sand must be picked up thoroughly and thrown outside. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also cleansed the outside of the temple, fearing that the grains of... Can you move it, Prabhu?
Oh, I'm sorry. What happened there? There we go.
No, it's not moving.
Can you see it now?
Yeah. Fearing that the grains of sand would again come within. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that even though one may become free from the... Again, I cannot see. I cannot see it.
So we got this. Can you see now?
Yeah.
Why is it?
Where am I?
Here, I'll highlight it here. Let's start back up with this. Let's start with this paragraph here.
In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, I cannot see it behind there. Happened, I don't know. Explains that even though one may become free from the desire for fruitive activity, sometimes the subtle desire for fruitive activity again comes into beginning. Again, I'm blocking. This is blocking.
Is it on the screen, or is it you're having trouble on your side?
I don't know. My screen in the picture is blocking.
Yeah, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what's blocking. I can't see from your side.
A picture is blocking. I don't know how to get out of this.
Well, I'll read this here, and then if the picture goes away, then you can start. Let me know, okay, Mataji, if the picture goes away. Is the picture can everybody else see it? I don't know if it's my screen sharing or...
Now it's okay, Prabhu.
Okay. Let's start over from this part here in this connection.
Okay, in this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that even though one may become free from the desires for fruitive activity, sometimes the subtle desire for fruitive activity again comes into begin within the heart. One often thinks of conducting business to improve devotional activity, but the contamination is so strong that it may later develop into misunderstanding. Described as Kutinati, fault finding, and pratishtata, the desire for name and fame and for high position. Jivahimsa, envy of other living entities. Insiddhachara, Insiddhachara, accepting things forbidden in the Shastra. Kama, desire for material gain. And puja, hankering for popularity. The word kutinati means duplicity. As an example of pratishtata, one may attempt to imitate Srila Haridas Thakura by living in a solitary place. One's real desire may be for name and fame. In other words, one thinks that fools will accept one to be as good as Haridas Thakura just because one lives in a solitary place. These are all material desires. A neophyte devotee is certain to be attacked by other material desires as well, namely desires for women and money. In this way, the heart is again filled with dirty things and become harder and harder, like that of a materialist. Gradually, one desires to become a reputed devotee or an avatara incarnation. The word Jivahimsa, in envy of the living entities, actually means stopping the preaching of Krishna consciousness. Preaching work is described as paropakara, welfare activity for others. Those who are ignorant of the benefits of devotional service must be educated by preaching. If one stops preaching and simply sits down in a solitary place, he is engaging in material activity. If one desires to make a compromise with the Mayavadis, he is also engaged in material activity. A devotee should never make compromise with non-devotees. By acting as a professional guru, mystic yogi, or miracle man, one may cheat and bluff the general public and gain fame as a wonderful mystic. But all this is considered to be the dust, straw, and grains of sand within the heart. In addition, one should follow the regulative principles and not desire illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, or meat. To give us practical instructions, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cleansed the temple twice. His second cleaning was more thorough. The idea was to throw away all the stumbling blocks on the path of devotional service. He cleansed the temple with firm conviction, as is evident from his using his own personal garments for cleaning. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to see personally that the temple was thoroughly cleansed to be to the standard of clean marble. Clean marble gives a cooling effect. Devotional service means attaining peace from all disturbances caused by material contamination. In other words, it is the process by which the mind is cooled. The mind can be peaceful and thoroughly cleansed when one no longer desires anything but devotional service. You want me to continue, Prabhu?
Let's see if there's somebody else that wants to finish this up. We have a couple more paragraphs. Anyone else would like to read?
I can read, Prabhu.
Please.
Even though all dirty things may be cleansed away, sometimes subtle desires remain in the mind for impersonalism, monism, success, and the four principles of religious activities: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. All these are like spots on the clean cloth. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also wanted to cleanse all these away. By his practical activities, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu informed us how to cleanse our heart. Once the heart is cleansed, we should invite Lord Sri Krishna to sit down, and we should observe the final festival by distributing prasadam, by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to teach every devotee by his personal behavior. Everyone who spreads the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts a similar responsibility. The Lord was personally chastising and praising the individuals in the course of the cleaning, and those who are engaged in as Acharya must learn from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how to train the devotees by personal example. The Lord was very pleased with those who could cleanse the temple by taking out undesirable things accumulated within. This is called anartha nibriti, cleansing the heart of all unwanted things. Thus, the cleansing of the Gaundicha Mandira was conducted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and let us know how the heart should be cleansed and should to receive and should to receive Lord Sri Krishna and enable him to sit within the heart without disturbance. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Jai. This is a really, I hope everybody was able to follow through. It sounds like everybody was engaged in reading and hearing in this. A very informative, very powerful purport for our spiritual development. Srila Prabhupada gave many examples of these anarthas in this pastime manifest themselves as the grains of sand, dust, straw that are there when we clean the temple. But when we clean the temple of our hearts through the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, these become removed. And what they are is just all these material desires. And these material desires, they take form in so many different ways. I encourage the devotees to please come and take a look at this purport again and read it. It is Madhya Lila, chapter 12, text number 135. The holy name of the Lord is glorified as being more merciful than the Lord. Because although it is the same Supreme Lord, it actually cleanses the heart as a sweeper cleanses a piece of property, and prepares the heart so that the Lord in his personal form as Sri Krishna can come and sit there in a sanctified place. This is the mercy of the holy name, and we should take it very seriously. The powers of the holy name. That's why it said, it's an offense to think of the glories of the holy name to be imagination. This is what's actually taking place within our hearts. And again, I ask the devotees to please contemplate this purport, read it over again, understand where our anarthas lie and where categories. He gave so many categories, from people desiring for business, wanting, to be recognized for their achievements, for name and fame, some people, mysticism or impersonal liberation, some of them just trying to follow the karmakundic system. All of these make the heart grow harder and harder. The humility of chanting the Lord, accepting him into our hearts, to cleanse the heart. This softens the heart and makes it beautiful and purified for the Lord to reside there. Thank you all very much. Shri Gundicha Marjanam Lila Ki Jai.
Prabhu, can you tell me the number of the text, please?
Madhya Lila, chapter 12, text 135.
Okay.
So, Prabhu, we want to continue the same thing next week, next Wednesday, or we will go back to our chapter 6 again?
We'll go back to chapter 6. This was just because today was the Gundicha Marjanam. So we felt we should, speak on this pastime so that we can remember it today and the instructions. So we'll go back to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Lord Chaitanya's conversation next week.
Okay.
Yeah, so where we picked up where you left off last week.
This is very informative, Prabhu.
Yeah, because this is the end of the pastime. After this, then we'll get to this, in a couple of months. We're in chapter 6 now. Well, this is chapter 12, so we'll come back to this. But this whole chapter, also talks about how Lord Chaitanya and Maharaj Prataparuja, they were eventually got a chance to meet. But this part of it of Gundicha Marjana was in the middle of it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to all the devotees that read. Again, today is the disappearance day of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We'll observe a program at the temple for him starting at 10:30 with some bhajans, some katha and pastimes of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We'll have Pushpanjali, Kirtan, and a feast. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhyo cha Pacitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you all for reading.